self-concept inventory. Okay, but before that, we will discuss first what is self-concept. Okay. Self-concept, okay, is one's mental image of oneself. It also involves all of the self-perceptions, perceptions appearance, which is the entail mental images of how one's looks, and the values and the other beliefs. Self-concept also is made up of one's self-schemas and interacts with self-esteem, self-knowledge, and the social self to form as a whole. Yourself as a whole. It includes also the past, the present, and the future selves, where future selves represent individuals' ideas of what they might become, what they would like to become, or what they are afraid of becoming. So, why the self-concept is important? Because it influences how we think, how we feel, and act in everyday organizational life as a young professionals. The self-concept is only one of the many factors that affects thinking, feeling, and the behavior. But it is undoubtedly one of the most powerful influences on many important behaviors. So self-concept also tends to be more malleable when you're younger and still going through the process of self-discovery and identity formation. So as you age and learn who you are and what's important to you, these self-perceptions become much more detailed and organized. And at its most basic, self-concept is a collection of beliefs one holds about oneself and the response of others. It embodies the answer or the answer to the question, who am I? So it is your perceptions throughout yourself. So at the for example, you may taken part in a race when you were 10 years old and finish at the back of the field. Because of this, you may have developed a belief that you are a bad runner and incapable of winning a race. So at the point in your life, your self-concept may have made you shy away from your sport and other competitive activities. You may not realize, but this may have had a negative knock-on or effects throughout your life. It may be the case that you began to avoid going to sports, avoid exercise, as such your health suffered. So it may be the reason that you gain weight as a teen, which you now struggle to lose in adulthood. It may be the case that this early negative experience in a competitive environment has prevented you from competing to your potential in other areas of your life, such as your workplace as a young professionals. It have made you submissive and lacking in confidence, and also this may have led to you being downtrodden in relationships. And so, it is easy to see how small, seemingly insignificant events can manifest themselves, and self-limiting beliefs can develop and take on a life of their own that continues through your adulthood. So earlier, we have discussed about the ideal self and the actual self. I will also give meanings and other examples for you to answer the self-concept inventory. Okay? So according to the humanistic psychologist Carl Rogers, the personality is composed of the real self and the ideal self, or your actual self. Okay, first, the ideal self is the self that you aspire to be. the one that you hope will possess characteristics similar to that of a mentor or some other worldly figure. An image developed over time based on what we have learned and experienced. So in ideal self also, it is how we want to be. Okay? It is an idealized version of yourself created out of what you have learned from your life experiences, the demands of society, and what you admire in role models. It could include the components of what our parents have taught us, what we admire in others, and what our society promotes, and also what we think in our best interest. It also refers to our wishes, hopes, and aspirations. So, for instance, one's person ideal self might involve being more outgoing. So, for example, take a moment to sit in a quiet place where you can be alone for 15 to 20 minutes without any distraction. Once there, begin visualizing your ideal day starting from the moment you wake up, first thing in the morning, and then ask yourself, what am I like as a person on this day? What goals am I working towards? And how do I handle myself in some various situations? So visualizing the answers to these questions will help you to get a better idea of the person you see yourself becoming at some point in the future. This then essentially becomes your self-ideal, or in other words, the person you are striving to become. At times, we end up walking along the wrong path because we succumb to others people's expectations. So these people shape how they would like us to be within the specific roles we play. So this of course might not such be a bad thing. Sometimes we just don't have enough clarity to understand how we can grow and develop ourselves with a specific role. However, at other times, giving in others people's expectations, it can lead us straight down a less than optimal path. Okay, ideal you is therefore you. Okay, however, it is not a person you are today, but rather the person you are striving to become tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, and so on. And yet, this ideal self is not a state of perfection. It is not fixed destination or a finished product. In fact, it's far from it. The ideal self is constantly evolving and changing. And as such, it has somewhat an elusive nature. Okay, that's the ideal self. Next is the actual self. It's one that you actually see. The self that has characteristics that you were nurtured or in some cases born to have, and built-in self-knowledge. Also, actual self contains all attributes that our person believes that are self-descriptive. These self-descriptive attributes are not necessarily issued by the owner of the actual self. They also can be issued by the other people. So, for example, if I believe that I am a punctual person, then punctuality is part of my actual self. Similarly, if my colleagues describe me as being punctual and I am aware of this description, then punctuality is an attribute contained in my actual self. Also, it is what we are intrinsically. It's the self that feels most true to what and who we really are. The honest self that leaves us most comfortable in our skin. It may not be perfect, but it's the part of us that feels most real. And it is one we need to learn to love the most. So embracing and owning your true self isn't about becoming anything. It is about looking at yourself in the present moment and accepting all of your beauty and ugly awkwardness combined. Without a radical acceptance of all that you are, there can be no experience of authenticity. The two can go hand in hand. So question, is it possible to still be in touch with your true self even when you're putting on a role? So let me see the chat box to see the answers for it. So the question, is it possible to still be in touch with your true self even when you're putting on a role? Yes or no? Okay, from Mom Ariane, it's possible. Okay, Mom Miriam Frondoza, possible. Okay. Okay, possible. Yes, many had said yes. Okay, thank you very much for your answers. So yes, it is possible, but only if the role you put on is conscious and not unconscious. So here is an example. Your job requires and is dependent on you dealing with the public. So you can consciously put on a friendly, extroverted, and charming mask while still being in touch with your authentic feelings, values, and needs. It is only when you lose touch with your authentic feelings, values, and needs and let others dictate them for you that you're being inauthentic. So there's no black or white here. You simply cannot be 100% authentic all the time on the outside. So those who insist that you must always behave in a certain way do not understand the nature of life. Okay? So life is fluid and contextual. Behaving one way in a situation will not always be beneficial for you and in other situations. If you let your feelings guide you in an honest way, you will eventually find your real self. The more you get to know that self, the more you will able to appreciate it and love it for what it is. The real, perhaps less than the perfect, but lovable one and only you. Okay. So let's proceed to the self-concept inventory. So how do you rate yourself? May I request that you will have your pen and papers beside you or a notebook, and we will answer this self-concept inventory. Okay? So take a look at your own self-concept and answer the following self-concept inventory in your notebook or in your paper beside you. So give yourself a rating using the scale. I have here on the screen the scale that we will need to get. Okay, then later on, you will get your total score by adding per characteristics in the self-concept inventory. Okay? Okay, you may, we will start. I hope you have pen and papers beside you. Okay, first characteristic is your physical appearance. Okay, number 1. Okay, I will 40. Okay, sorry. I will read first the scale. For 0, you will rate yourself very weak. Okay, for 1 is weak, 2 somewhat weak or somewhat strong, 3 strong, and 4, very strong. You will rate yourself according to the scale, 0 being the lowest and 4 being the highest. Okay, for first characteristic is your physical appearance. Number 1, I have a strong sex appeal. Okay, so rate yourself from 0 to 4, then later on we will total per characteristics. Okay, so number 2, I am proud of my physical figure. Number 3, I am physically attractive and beautiful or handsome. So, what's your rate on your physical appearance? Number 4, I exude with charm and poise. Next characteristic is the human relations. Number 5, I am easy to get along with. So, what's your score? 0 being the lowest and 4 being the highest. Number 6, I can adjust to different people and different situations. 7, I am approachable. 8, I am lovable and easy to love. Okay. Next characteristic is about intelligence. Number 9, I am a fast learner, can easily understand with one instruction. Number 10, I am intelligent. 11, I have special talents and abilities. 12, I can easily analyze situations and make judgments. Next characteristic is your character. Number 13, I can be trusted in any transaction. Number 14, I have a clean conscience and carry no guilty feelings. 15, I have a integrity and good reputation. 16, my friends and classmates can look up to me as a model worth emulating. So for us as a young professionals. Okay, next two characteristics is first is the communication. 17, I can express my ideas without difficulty. 18, I talk in persuasive manner that I can easily get people to accept what I say. 19, I can express my ideas in writing without difficulty. 20, I am a good listener. Last characteristic is maturity. 21, I am emotionally stable and not easily rattled when faced with trouble. 22, I am logical and rational in my outlook and decisions. 23, I feel and act with confidence. And last is 24, I am a mature person. So I hope everyone will score themselves based on the characteristics. So now, based from the characteristic, get the subtotal from each other characteristic based on your physical appeal. So get your total score by adding per characteristic. Okay. So based from the physical appearance, human relations, intelligence, character, communications, and your maturity. So when you get the total score from 14 to 16, it means you have a strong, and when your total is 10 to 13, you are feeling somewhat weak. And if it's below your subtotal, below 10, it is you're feeling very weak. So, in what areas do you consider yourself strong? How about let me see the chat group. What areas do you consider yourself strong? Anyone? Let me read the chat, the live chat. Okay. Strong in communication. Ella Jumel. Okay. How about the others? Okay. Aryan May in human relations. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. How about the somewhat weak? Where do you consider yourself a weak? So, someone weak. Okay. Somewhat weak. Okay. Weak on physical appearance. Oh, why? Mom Aryan May Bawi. Okay. I know everyone, God created us very special in every appearance. Okay. Weak in maturity. May Olavides. Okay, somewhat weak in communication. I have seen or read some in communication, human relation, and appearance. Okay, how about the very weak? How do you consider yourself very weak? In what aspect? In what characteristic? Is it in physical appearance, human relations, intelligence, in your characteristic, communications, or in maturity? The very weak side. Let me just check the chat box. Okay, very weak in communication. Mom Aryan May Bawi. Very weak in physical appearance. Okay, in a character. Also, others said Nefertini Lance Panahon in very weak in maturity. Okay. Very weak also in character. May Olavides. Okay. So, are there qualities you consider as your weakness, but other people consider this as your strength? So, it is the individual. Okay, I will just thank you. Okay, thank you very much for the response. Okay, so many questions. So many answers rather. Thank you very much. So, it is the individual has within him or herself vast resources for the self-understanding, for altering the self-concept, some basic attitudes, and his or her self, directed into the behaviors. And these resources can be tapped if only a definable climate of facilitative psychological attitudes can be provided. So remember, a person's self-concept is the core of his or her personality. You have a strong, positive self-image for the best possible preparation for your success. So with this, I will just end my discussion with a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. Be the change you want